What was I saying? Hi, I'm Choirmaster Zack, an organist and choir director with a passion for the German Baroque music of Bach and his contemporaries. Subscribe to my channel to watch me perform, as well as discuss music theory, history, and hymnody through the evolution of the Christian Church. Hi, welcome to the Choirmaster Zack YouTube channel. I am Choirmaster Zack, and this is the inaugural episode of the Choirmaster Files. This week's episode is all about hymnals. I've been a choir master for several years, and during that time I have built up quite a collection of hymnals. Hymnals come in multiple varieties. For instance, they might serve a denominational purpose, like the organ edition of the Episcopal Church, which looks like this, or the hymnal for the Anglican Church of England, or while traveling in Quebec, picking up a French Catholic hymn book, or during the same trip, picking up a Roman Catholic Gregorian chant missal, hymnals also come in other varieties, like an armed forces hymnal for when you're doing services for the different branches of the armed forces of the United States. Or perhaps when you're singing German chorales, a hymnal from the 1800s with all of the German chorales. Or serving in a Jewish synagogue, a prayer book and hymnal for Jewish services. But most recently, I've added to my collection a pocket edition of the Lutheran Book of Worship and a pocket edition of the Evangelical Lutheran Worship Book. When looking at the variety of hymnals, you'll notice that most hymnal pages look very similar. For instance, if we look at the 1982 hymnal, it looks very similar to the Lutheran Book of Worship hymnal. It looks very similar to the Methodist hymnal. So a lot of hymns look a lot alike, but all hymns have the same number of components on their pages. For instance, once again, if we look at the Lutheran Book of Worship, you'll notice that there's a lot of denotations down at the bottom of the page, and that's what we're going to talk about in this episode. There are 4 components that I would like you to notice on each hymn page. There is a tune name, there is a poetic name, there is a meter name, and of course, there are the parts of the hymns. Let's talk about the title of a hymn. Hymns actually have 2 different titles. The music has a title, and the poem has a title. For instance, I am using the hymnal from the 1940 Episcopal Church, and if I look at page 355, I notice that the tune name is Coronation. The poem title is All Hail the Power of Jesus' Name. But if I look across the page, there is a second tune that is called Miles Lane. You can sing the same poem to both Coronation and Miles Lane. For instance, Coronation sounds like this. All hail the power of Jesus' name, let angel prostrate fall. Bring forth the royal I can sing the exact same poem to the tune Miles Lane. Oh, hail the power of Jesus' name, let angel prostrate fall. Bring forth the royal diadem, and crown him, crown him, crown him, crown him, Lord of all. So when we're talking about the title of a hymn, we have to know whether we're talking about the tune name or the title of the poem. So the next time that you have your hymnal in front of you, why don't you look around the page and see if you can find the tune name? And that is the title of the music. But the first line of the hymn is usually the title of the poem. So don't confuse the two when you say, my favorite hymn is. Always remember that maybe the favorite hymn is the tune that you're talking about and not the poem, or vice versa. Our next point about hymns is called meter. And this is a great trick that a lot of people don't know about. Meter is often denoted at the bottom of the page with several odd-looking numbers. For instance, here we can see that the hymn is metered 7676D. 7676D means that there's 7 syllables in the first line, 6 syllables in the second line, 7 syllables in the third line, 6 syllables in the fourth line, and that it is doubled. You'll often see things like CM, which denotes common meter, or SM for short meter. Now, what does this all have to do with hymns and how we can sing hymns? Well, the interesting thing is, if you have a common meter hymn that is talking about the syllables of the poem, you can put those words to any other common meter or similar metered hymn. For instance, on page 526 of the 1982 hymnal, we have the tune Dundee. And the tune Dundee to this one is set to the poem, Let Saints on Earth in Concert Sing. Goes something like this. Let saints on earth in concert sing with those whose work is done, for all the servants of our King in heaven and earth are one. But maybe my congregation doesn't quite know that tune well enough, but the minister wants to use those particular words. So I could find another common meter hymn in my hymnal. Here's the Evangelical Lutheran Worship Book. And I found this other metered, common meter hymn to the tune Osmond. That's a very familiar tune, so I could put the words from the 1982 hymnal 526 to the tune of 452 on the ELW, because they're both common meter hymns. And here's how that would work. Let saints on earth in concert sing with those whose work is done, for all the servants of our King in heaven and earth are one. So when you're looking at hymns, you always have to remember to separate the tune from the poem. A hymn is not a poem, and a hymn is not a tune. It is the two together. And oftentimes, a tune and a poem were written at vastly different times. So the next time you have your hymnal in front of you, see if you can figure out the different components of the hymn on the page. I always like to end all of these sessions by teaching you a new hymn tune that you might not know. So why don't you join me at the piano at church and we'll learn a new hymn. So how do we learn a hymn? Let's take a look at a hymn. I'm going to look at hymn number 90, which is Salzburg is the tune, and the poem's name is Songs of Thankfulness and Praise. And it should appear on your screen right here. So that looks awfully difficult. There's a lot of notes there. How does one go about learning this hymn if you don't read music? Well, let's do it together. First, I'm going to give you a big secret that most musicians and organists will not tell you. Don't sing. The first thing that you should do is listen. Second thing that you should do is, as you're listening, you should read the words. Songs of thankfulness and praise. Jesus, Lord, to thee we raise. Manifested by the star to the sages from afar. Branches of royal David's stem in thy birth. See, even I messed up those words because I don't know this poem as well as some of the other poems that I've sung to this tune. So even I need to read those words through a couple times, as you probably would as well. So don't think that you're not picking up a hymn because you stumble over a few of the words. That's natural the first time you read a hymn. So now I've listened to the tune and I've read the words. So now it's time to look at the tune notes. And once again, if we look at our piece of music right here, all of the notes on the top are the notes that I'm going to sing. And you'll notice that the first two notes go up, and then the note goes back down. Back up, back down. That's all you're doing. So now, as you're listening to the tune this time, you're going to ignore the words and you're just going to listen to that top line of notes. And by the fourth verse, you should be able to sing it. Grant us grace to see thee, Lord, present in thy holy word. Grace to imitate thee now, and be pure as pure art thou, that we might become like thee, at thy great Epiphany, and may praise thee ever blessed, God in flesh made manifest. And now you've learned that hymn. That hymn is Salzburg, also could go by the poem name Songs of Thankfulness and Praise, At the Lamb's High Feast We Sing, and at least two others I can think of. So, now you know that tune. The next time you hear it, you'll be more familiar with it. But the big trick to learning a hymn is just to sit and listen first. Not try and sing, not try and sight read, especially if you don't read music. Not try and read the words and sing them at the same time. Sit back, listen, enjoy. That's the way that you learn music. I hope this helps, and we'll do another hymn at the end of the next episode. The next episode, by the way, is going to be all about the organ. We're going to take a tour of the organ chambers and the organ itself and learn about some of the peculiarities of playing the organ as compared to playing the piano. I hope you join me for the next episode, and if you wouldn't mind, hit that subscribe button down below and that bell to get notifications on upcoming episodes. Thanks a lot. I'll see you next time.